This week on the latest episode of The Big Show, our hearts are heavy as we celebrate the transition of several celebrities, including Malcolm-Jamal Warner, Ozzy Osbourne, and Hulk Hogan. We'll also continue, well, actually, we won't, but I'll explain that in a second. We were going to continue our countdown of the ultimate top 100 black television shows. And in addition, we'll have reviews of the Fantastic Four, The First Steps, and the Hulu series, Washington Black. We'll have all that, and trust me, a whole lot more on the latest episode, Keeping It Real with Film Gordon. Let's go. To the latest episode of Keeping It Real with Film Gordon. I am Tim Gordon, and I am joined by Charles Kirkland Jr. Charles, oh man, wow, okay. Chuck Mangione just passed away, so we will add him to
Good
wow,
God.
Man. We can't, it's so funny. We literally are doing the show, we do the tease, and then I get an alert in the middle of the tease.
Right here.
Wow. So Charles Kirkland, wow. How are you, sir?
You know, they say it used to be threes. We got four. Bam, 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 bam.
Wow.
Good gracious.
Oof. Yeah. Well, we have a very interesting show coming up. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. In addition, we were going to revisit the ultimate top 100 black TV shows and continue the countdown, and I decided at the last minute that it was still half baked.
It still needs a little work.
Well, no, let me rephrase that. We probably had the bottom of the list needed to be tweaked. And I was not comfortable moving forward. I'm serious.
It's funny because the bottom of the list is that's what we were going to be sharing.
So. Right, which is another reason why we couldn't do it. So Shane, from say 1 to about 70, we good. The problem was about 71 to 100, which is what we were talking about today. Was like, yeah, but
it's my fault. It's my fault.
No, it's actually not your fault because. You know, we were working as a team, and we just couldn't get to a consensus. I think that's the easiest way to say it. We couldn't get to a consensus literally within the last 10. I think that was really the big problem. And Charles identified one today. Charles was like, we're not having that. That is too high, and we need to bring it. And we brought it down, man. Charles spoke. So.
Tim looked at it and like, let me check. And he was like, dang, you're right.
Yeah.
It's way too high.
Look, but Charles is 87. It needs to be 95. Wow. So I promise you, next week we will try to get back to this ultimate list because we need it to be right? Because you know we started out with 136, whittled it down to 100, and then, like I said, there's some movement of trying to figure out. There were certain shows that I just thought were way too low, and I think I shared with you the other day. I was like, "Come on, man."
Yeah.
This show's got to be higher on the list. And then it's funny today, you were one of the first people to say one should be lower. Like, that's too high. So we'll continue the Ultimate Black TV 100 Top 100 TV Countdown. I promise you it's a great list. It really is because we spent a lot of time. Cordell Martin also, who's our nominating chairperson for the Black Reel Awards, came in and, I told him in the future, whenever you are updating lists, you need to send me all your movies one at a time because it was like, and what about this one? And what about that one? I was like, bruh, give me all your choices.
Take time. By the end of the day,
like,
make the whole
my
list.
bad, I'm on my phone. I'm just doing them one at a time. I'm like, killing me right now. So, yes, we will revisit that next week. And then also coming up, a couple of very interesting projects coming to both theaters and streaming platforms this week. On Hulu is Washington Black, which I literally finished right before we came in here.
Really?
And, of course, we are, as you can see us wearing our 4 hats. We both went to the, I don't know, it's not a D.C. premiere. It was the reopening of the National Air and Space Museum last night. Great experience last night watching that movie.
Yes, it was.
But I'm not throwing shade on it. Chantilly is still better. the Airbus of Chantilly.
That's the first thing I said to my son when we went in that theater. I'm like, it's big.
It's big
Chantilly.
and it's nice. The Airbus in Chantilly. I saw Sinners out there a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's good.
It's $15. Every time you go out there.
15 is not bad for
not
a film at all.
You normally go, like, I remember, I tell a story. I've seen Sinners now 6 times, right? So I watched it 2 times at home, but I saw it 4 times. 3 times I paid for it, right?
Right.
So every time I saw Sinners, I actually saw Sinners on IMAX every time. So the first 2 times were regular AMC IMAXs, right?
Right.
The 3rd time I saw it, I want to say I'm not sure if the Airbus in Chantilly was the 4th time, because I saw it on another.
It was the 4th time, and then you went to do the 70 millimeter one.
Well, no, we didn't get to the 70 millimeter,
you didn't.
but I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. I think that at the end of the year, Warner Brothers is going to do some. Charles, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
at the end of the year when they bring us out. And they'll have all the different studios showing their FYC movies. And I promise you, how much do you want to bet right now, here in the middle of July, that 5 months from now or going into December, because I already got the contact of Warner Brothers, right? My girl who I told you about.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, I need all the Sinners swag. And if you put it on 70 millimeter out of LA, I want to be in the house. I already got the frame poster.
They're just going to send you a screening link.
And then I felt some kind of wrong watching. I told Charles the story a couple of weeks ago. Maybe is it a couple of weeks or is it about a month now? That my television went out at home and I had to buy a brand new TV and a brand new sound bar, all this QELD.
Yeah.
And the first weekend I got it was the weekend that Max put Sinners on it. So I watched Sinners. I was sitting there like, yeah. Turn the sound up. I was like, And then my sister came to town the next day, and then they wanted to see Sinners, so I had to watch it again. So that's hence 6 times watching Sinners.
So I'm only one behind you, but I just found out.
5?
I've seen it 5 times.
Wow.
But I just found out that my sister-in-law hasn't seen it. So I'm like, yes.
You sound like me. I'm like, nobody's seen Sinners yet, man. Let's check it out. you haven't seen Sinners yet? But yeah, Sinners. So there are 2 things that I know that are definite right now. Shane is kind of going on one of them. The movie of the year is Sinners.
I
Best
agree.
movie of the year.
I agree.
Best hip hop album of the year, The Clips. Let God sort them out. If you haven't listened to it yet,
We don't do music. We
I
only do
again,
movies.
hence why if I'm saying it on our show. Now, I just talked to, what's the name of that show? The Hip Hop what?
The Hip Hop Corridor.
I always mess up this show. Troy and Dion, who do a hip hop show here, we just had a lengthy conversation in the lobby about the Clips' new album. Amazing. Amazing.
We don't do music on the show.
Led by the first song. Hey, Shane, producer, would we get in trouble if we played like a whole song on our show? He said, nah. So, yes, we can or no, we can't?
I mean, we can,
Oh,
but,
man. See,
but we won't get distribution.
Well, I mean, sometimes you got to take a stand. You got to take a stand, even if you're not getting distribution.
Sound like Ozzy, but okay, go ahead.
Wow, here we go again. All right, so I'm glad you brought that up. So let's segue into this, man, because we're gonna talk about let's talk about Chuck Mangione, man, first. And I don't have it up, but I will just go by what I know as a guy in the game. 1978, Chuck Mangione had a number one song. 77. I'm okay. Wow, I'm close.
Year.
I'm close. I'm off by a year.
And no notes, folks.
No notes. 1977. Thank you, Charles. Chuck Mangione had a song called, is it Feel So Good?
Feel So Good.
Feel So Good was the song of the summer.
For real.
You could not go anywhere and not hear.
We getting canceled for real.
but again,
YouTube is gonna be like, nope.
But I'm just trying to tell you, bro. I'm like, hey, man. So what did you pull up about Chuck Mangione? Because I know you pulled something up.
Well, he passed at 84 years old in his sleep at his home in New York, Rochester, New York.
Wow. So give me some career highlights, because that always happens.
Well, after Feel So Good, he was hired by the International Olympic Committee to play the theme song for the 1980 Winter Olympics, Give It All You Got.
Right.
And I'm sure you remember that one as well.
I do.
He's been a flugelhorn trumpet player, jazz composer, released more than 30 albums in a career. And he's just been around forever. Bella Via, that album was the album where he won the Grammy for Feel So Good. Bellavia, something like that. I don't know. And then he followed it up the next year with Friends and Lovers, and he also was Grammy nominated for that. So he's had one Grammy win, 2 nominations for his albums.
Wow. All right, man. Chuck Mangione, man. We literally found that out. That wasn't even on the original tease on the show sheet. And between Let's Go and then Welcome to the Show, wow. That has never happened before.
No.
In, what is it? We started in 2009, so 16 years. That is a first. Wow.
I don't know what that means, though.
Man, I mean, it means
that's a first for everything.
That people are going home, brother. That's what it means. And speaking of going home, I have a colleague that's close to both Charles and I, Julian Lytle, who, and actually you should be able to talk about this. Hulk Hogan, man.
Hulk Hogan.
Terry Gene Bollea, better known as Hulk Hogan, talk to us about Hulk Hogan at 6'7", this superstar of pro wrestling who passed away this morning at the age of 71.
I can honestly say that I don't think that we would have Netflix, WWE. I don't think we'd have The Rock if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan, they started WrestleMania. He headlined, main evented, or whatever you want to call it, 8 of the first 9 WrestleManias, which was unheard of. He literally put the WWF, which it was at that time, on the map as a credible source for sports entertainment. And I remember 1983. WrestleMania happened in my birth month. So I was excited because it was in Pontiac Silverdome in Detroit, Michigan. I was like, I got family there. Let's go to Pontiac and let's go to Detroit and go see WrestleMania. To which my father was like, "You're out your dang mind. We're not going up there for some."
We like Papa Kirkland.
We're not going up there for some wrestling. And I cried and I moaned about not being able to see WrestleMania. That I got to see the Jacksons Victory Tour that same summer in Detroit, Michigan, because I complained to my uncle. He's like, "Oh, if you wanted to come up, I'd have brought you up. We could have watched it." But yeah, it was Hulk Hogan that made WWF, WWE now, what it is today. And even though he felt on some hard times, it came out, because when I posted it up with my family group, one of them came back and talked about his racist comments, and that how the last time he showed up at WrestleMania or WWE when Netflix debuted it in Los Angeles, he was literally booed off the stage because of the backlash for some of the comments that he's made. But every time you saw him before that, he was always Hulk Hogan. He was always in that character. Whenever you saw him, he was never acting, even in the movies. And I say this about The Rock. He's not acting. He's just being that same character that was in the wrestling ring, in all the movies, and everywhere you saw him. So it was unfortunate in the last few years that he's stepped out of that character and became more of himself. And people don't like the real Terry Bollea, but they love Hulk Hogan. And if it wasn't for him, where would wrestling be today?
Well, that's a very fitting tribute, Charles Kirkland. This is Charles Kirkland's kind of bailiwick today. This is your day, man. All right, so, and now let's move on to the man that is described as the Prince of Darkness.
Prince of Darkness.
Ozzy Osbourne.
Also known as the Godfather of heavy metal.
I'm listening, Charles.
Okay. You want me to go now? Okay.
No, I'm not going to
John Michael.
Go ahead.
John Michael Osbourne got the nickname Ozzy as a young child on the playground, and he carried it ever since. He was known for biting the heads off bats on stage and doves and other things.
He did it once in 1982.
Well, I mean, but he was known for that. You knew it. You knew it. Again, meeting the front man and founder for the band Black Sabbath. I mean, several Grammy Awards nominations. And for those of you who don't know, he's been sampled over 290 times and had over 600 covers of his work. Respected by and Ice-T, Tribe Called Quest, Busta Rhymes. I mean, at the time when he came out, and the PMRC came out, a lot of the people were saying that his music was terrible and horrible and it needed to be, and a lot of rappers got caught up in it, and a lot of musicians got caught up in it. And so when he got placed on the Filthy 15, which you laugh about, his comment at the time was, "Hey, I don't care what they say, I'm going to keep on making music." And that was the inspiration for a lot of rappers and musicians at that time who picked up the mantle and said, okay, we're going to keep on doing it no matter what they say. Matter of fact, we got the record label, the Parental Advisory label, because of the PMRC, and which has been ridiculed because it seems like it makes more people sell more records than less records by having that label. So Ozzy was right. You just keep making your music, and people will just fade into the distance.
All right. Well, again, another sparkling great job by Charles Kirkland. Shane, Charles he's nailing them, man. He's not no scripts. He's just going from the heart. You know, these are people who have has really touched Charles.
Yes.
And and last but not least, we lost Malcolm-Jamal Warner this week, and for the first time, I think ever, we've never featured two obits, like two people who wrote, appreciations. I wrote one first. Charles called me when we first got the news, and I wrote, "We remember Malcolm-Jamal Warner, 1970 to 2025. Charles wrote, "Eulogy for a Brother." So, Charles, I'll let you go first, man. Talk about, what the memories you shared or your feelings around the tragic passing, I would ask, of Malcolm-Jamal Warner.
It's kind of ironic because as you were talking about the clips coming in, I was never that hip hop kid like that growing up. I can listen to a lot of things. Matter of fact, I didn't see Prince in concert, but I did see Ozzy with Metallica. And before Metallica was big, they opened up for Ozzy, and so. But Malcolm-Jamal Warner.
Hold on a second. Yeah, he's right here. Get his black card and cut it before we leave.
So right, Malcolm-Jamal Warner, when he came on the Cosby Show, this was a role that spoke to me because I lived that middle class life. I wasn't in the hip hop world, and but I was in the middle, and so a lot of the things that Theo Huxtable went through were the things I experienced. I grew up in a house full of women, and he had in a house full of women, so I drew a kinship to Theo Huxtable and thereby Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Malcolm-Jamal Warner named after Malcolm X and Ahmad Jamal. So I've listened to his spoken word. I've just followed him all my life. And so and he's like 2 years younger than me. But to me, he was the brother I never had because I don't have any brothers. And that was a guy that I was like, I just rock with him. And so to hear him pass, it really hit me hard. It really was a devastating blow because I'm like, that is me. He was me. And so a piece of me passed along with him as he, even the whole story about the rip current and how he got caught in it and out there. I've experienced that. I was younger and fortunate, but I came out the other side because I didn't have the strength to try to fight the rip current, and I just got drugged out to the sandbar. But it's a terrible loss for me. I don't know about the rest of the world, but as we do our top 100 list, I'm expecting the Cosby Show to be high up now, maybe even higher because of this relevant topic here.
For the record, sir, the top 100 list, at least the first 70 was completed before.
I know that. I know that. But just like we were working the 71 through 100.
We are not working. We are not reworking 1 through 70. 1 through 70 is set.
Yeah.
So I will just say, so don't be thinking once we like, oh man, it had nothing to do with Malcolm-Jamal Warner. But go ahead.
I can say that, but I already know what the top 1 through 70 are. I'm not.
Right. I got you.
But tell me what you were feeling when you heard about this news.
I'm just going to go through a couple of notes that I wrote that were in the piece. I called him America's son because my memory was that, for as much, what's the word to use? As much flack
criticism
and criticism, and rightfully so, that Dr. Cosby has generated over the last 10, 15 years. People forget, and again, I was making a joke earlier about certainties, album of the year, movie of the year. There are a couple of certainties I can make about the 1980s because I lived in the 1980s.
Okay.
There's no album that I've seen before or since that'll ever top Thriller. None.
Okay.
And there's no television show that I've ever seen before or since that will top the popularity of the Cosby Show in the mid '80s. It literally was not just the number one black show on television. It was the number one show on television for like 5 years.
It made NBC credible as a network.
Oh yeah. They created an entire block of programming,
around
around the Cosby Show, and they called it Must See Thursdays.
Yep.
So all that started with the Cosby Show, and Theo Huxtable was a huge part of the Cosby Show, right? And you go, but he was the son. Yeah, to Charles's point, he was the only boy in a family full of women, and he was modeled after Bill Cosby's late son, Ennis. So a lot of the storylines about fatherhood and a lot of the things that he showed, like the way they showed black fatherhood on television through the relationship of Dr. Cosby and Malcolm-Jamal Warner, I thought was brilliant.
Oh, absolutely,
it's brilliant.
Absolutely.
Like it's funny. I have in my thing. There's like 3 or 4 clips, right, of like famous episodes, and like I think it might have been the pilot when he told his father, he was like, hey man, you guys are being hard on me, because he was getting bad report cards.
Right. I just want to be a regular.
I just want to be a regular kid, man. How come I can't be a regular? And everybody claps in the studio audience, yay! And Bill Cosby came back and went, "That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. No wonder you're getting C's and D's in school." So you had that moment. What was the name of the famous
Gordon Gartrell?
Oh my God, the Gordon Gartrell shirt. When he goes to his father and says, the shirt is $95. He said the only kid that should be wearing a shirt that's $95 is he's on stage singing with the four brothers. There are all these classic moments. And then the other one I'll end with, actually it's 2. Remember when he had, I forget his teacher, played by Sonia Braga, who came to the house, and she had something to give him, and they're having this pleasant evening. She's looking all normal, and she invites Theo out to the living room, and as they're sitting there talking, she pulls her glasses out and she's putting her hair back up. So there are and trust me, if you're sitting at home and you're like, man, I can't believe Tim and Charles and Shane is letting them talk about the Cosby Show. Cosby Show was great. I'm sorry.
Fantastic.
I mean, watch this. I'm sorry. The Cosby
Fantastic.
Show is a fantastic show. You might not like the man whose name is on the show, but you cannot discount like the importance of that show.
Right.
What that show actually did for not just black culture, but for the culture. For the culture. Yeah. So I say that Malcolm-Jamal Warner represented America's son. I was on a show in Philadelphia, and they brought me on to talk about this, and I was like, I never had an opportunity to meet him, never had a chance to interview him. I learned so much about him just this week with all the clips that I've saw on YouTube. And I want to finish with a poem that I saw that Tyrese wrote. Did you read about this? Did you read this?
No.
Shane, did you read about this? The poem is called, and I'm going to read this, called The Gentle Giant, right? A poem in tribute to our beloved brother Malcolm-Jamal Warner. And this is from a couple of days ago. He said, today we lost a gentle giant, a man who won our hearts not by force but by quiet grace. From the very beginning, Malcolm-Jamal Warner reminded us that being calm, classy, sophisticated, and soulful could carry you far in life. He was the soft-spoken strength behind a generation's most beloved show. We watched The Cosby Show and saw for the first time a world many of us had never known. A black family made up of doctors, lawyers, artists, and thinkers.
Wow.
A household rooted in love and education, laughter and dignity. Let me see if I'm reading this in right. I must have skipped a part. So it says, today we mourn what feels unimaginable. A loss that cuts through nostalgia, through childhood, through what we thought would always be. My sincere prayers go out to his wife, to his children, to his family, to everyone who loved him, worked beside him, and walked life with him. This tragedy hits us hard, not just because of who he was on screen, but because of who he remained when the cameras turned off. Mm-hmm. We lost more than an actor. We lost a presence, a gentle, regal, beautiful soul who walked with dignity and reminded us, especially as black boys and men, that you could be powerful without being loud, important without being arrogant, respected without ever demanding it. Today, as we sit in that grief and we say goodbye to a man who gave us more than entertainment, he gave us hope. He gave us another way to exist. Rest well, Malcolm. You were everything we needed.
Wow.
That was from Tyrese Gibson wrote that. Dedication to Malcolm-Jamal Warner, man. So, this one hurts. And not to diminish the families and friends of Chuck Mangione, Hulk Hogan, and Ozzy Osbourne, but Malcolm-Jamal Warner was our community.
That's why it was last.
It's our community, bro. So rest in peace. I literally hate that we have to keep doing these. And one day, somebody, it's so funny. I was talking to Charles earlier today. I've been listening to Hamilton a lot, in the back of my mind, I keep thinking about the closing song, who lives, who dies, who tells a story. Mm-hmm. Somebody has got to tell a story. There are plenty of people who want to tell a story of Malcolm-Jamal Warner and all of the folks that we lost. But I think about it inwardly, like, we live our lives, and at some point, who's gonna tell our story, man? Who's gonna tell the story of Charles Kirkland Jr.? Who's gonna tell the story of Shane Lewis? Who tells the Tim Gordon story? So we have to continue to keep on pressing and hope that we leave enough work behind that somebody can continue to tell our story, man.
Right.
All right. We got to flip the mood up in here. Woo. 29 minutes after. We are not, as I said earlier, going to be doing our list of a top 100 today, which was going to take up probably about 3/4 of our show. So we're gonna talk about these movies today, and I'm not sure if we should start talking about them now because I really want to do a deep dive on both these projects that we have this week. So I think I'll get started. And now, before I begin, Charles, did you get a chance to watch Washington Black at all?
I did not.
Wow, this is going to be a Tim Gordon exclusive here because, all right, so.
Maybe it's best that I didn't because, I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. Wow. I don't know how to tackle that one. It's not negative.
It's not negative. No, it's just that we have views.
No. It's not that we have views. I'm just going to share a couple of things with Charles. Are you looking at your screen, Charles? Big screen? So this is the Washington Black review that I put up a couple of days ago. You see that number right there? Hold on a second. Of how many views it had. You see right here?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
It's a great review, man. So let's talk a little bit about Washington Black. Washington Black, of course, is a series that debuted on Hulu early this week. I think it dropped like Wednesday, right? And adapted from E.C. Adeyugan's acclaimed novel, Washington Black is a richly imaginative, emotionally resonant 8-part miniseries that blends historical fiction, adventure, romance, and speculative realism to tell a story rarely seen on screen, Charles. Mm-hmm. Executive produced by Sterling K. Brown, the series transcends familiar narratives of slavery by centering hope, connection, and the transformative power of art. Now, let me talk a little bit about this, which I found to be fascinating because I watch a lot of stuff, and I'm not discounting anybody else's watch experience, but I'm telling you, I watch a lot of stories about enslaved people. Right?
Okay.
And generally, whenever we tell these stories, no matter how hopeful they are, there's always subjugation, there's always pain, there's always disrespect. You're always being felt less than. And I'm talking about, when I say we, talking about the audience of people of color who have to sit through these stories, to sit through the pain and the trauma to get to the hope and the inspiration on the other side.
Right.
Well, guess what? In this story, which takes place...
Pain and trauma.
Well, no. In this story that happens in the early part of the 19th century, yes, he is an enslaved guy who's working in the sugarcane field somewhere over in the Barbados for a hateful plantation owner, right? The one thing that the movie doesn't show, outside of a couple of instances where people might get smacked or some stuff like that, there's nobody getting whipped. There's not an overabundance of trauma, of even though they're slaves. It reminded me, ironically, of a Dave Chappelle skit, right? Dave Chappelle once said in a skit, and I'm paraphrasing, that black men don't ever have the ability to just be and just dream and exist, right? Because, we always are dealing with some sort of trauma.
Right.
Well, this is a story that happens during slavery with the story of a kid who's young. He might be 5 or 6, but he's got a vivid imagination and he's really, really smart. And everybody in the community sees that this kid could be something special. And they protect him, nurture him, hide him, and do whatever they need to do to make sure that this kid can be allowed to be who he is, which is radically different than anything we've ever watched.
In terms of that kind of story,
in terms of that kind of story. Like, this kid was a dreamer who wanted to fly, right? And when he said wanted to fly, he was an inventor who wanted to create a machine that could fly. Instead of somebody going, boy, just sit your butt in the corner, man. Ain't nobody got no time for that, man. You better pick this. You better
go get some cotton.
You better chop this sugar cane and stop playing.
You better fly in them fields.
He meets, and also I called it the Psalm 23:6. Goodness and mercy followed this kid all his entire life. His entire life. It was fascinating to watch. I went, haven't seen this one before.
Wow.
So he even though he's on a plantation with a hateful slave owner, the slave owner's brother's an abolitionist who understands and sees how special he is, and the slave master says, "You go ahead on, you can take this kid." So him and the kid start all these adventures. Now the thing that's interesting about it, because I couldn't figure this out myself, is it's an 8-part miniseries, but Hulu only gave you 4 episodes to review. So this review that I wrote is off the first 4 episodes.
So in
So
other
I'm
words,
looking at the pictures. No, stop. So I'm looking at the pictures, and I'm trying to download the pictures, and I'm like, at what point in the story is this kid? Because this kid travels all around the world. Now, again, remember, this is the early 19th century. So it's not like, there were planes and he could just jump on. No, this story happens. He's in the Arctic, like over the course of 8 episodes. He's in the Arctic. He's in Morocco. He's in Nova Scotia. This is truly an international story that I think is so good. You literally should take these 8 episodes, put together a curriculum, and just take it to schools and just show it to kids. Because by the 8th episode at the end, I was like this. What's happening? It is deeply emotional. I thought Washington Black was brilliant. Washington Black is so brilliant. Shane, you ready? The first 4 episodes, I watched it. I said, I'm going to give it a B+. By the time I got to the end of the 8th episode, the B+ got bumped up to an A. I was like, wow.
Okay.
Washington Black, which is on Hulu right now, is frigging amazing. Executive produced by Sterling K. Brown. There are, and then you can go to the Film Gordon and just read the review. That's all I'll tell you, because I poured some stuff into this review because I was feeling this show, and I just kept on writing and couldn't stop writing. I was like, yeah, there's some more. Because now let me also say, because one of the things, there was one thing I had to add after the end. There's a backstory for Sterling K. Brown's character that's in here that is deeply touching. Okay. It is deeply touching. And I'm not going to spoil it. Just watch the miniseries. When you get to that, remember I told you how deeply touching that whole thing is. And there are so many great moments of people who are kind. Who just don't have to be kind. Who are just kind to this kid. I don't know what it was about this character, but people just wanted to help this guy out because they kept looking at him going, he's the one. He's like Neo. He can be somebody. So it is a very interesting miniseries. And for us, since we also run the Black Reel Awards for television, this will not be the last time you hear about Washington Black. I got a feeling that when nominations come for next year's Black Reel Awards for television, Washington Black is going to be in the mix. That's a good one.
If they don't forget.
Oh, no, he's not going to let you forget.
Ernest Kingsley Jr.
Yes, he was absolutely amazing, man. And he was the young... No, I'm sorry. That was the older version of Washington Black. The younger version is played by Eddie Caranja. So, yeah. Really,
it's funny
really
because
good.
You hear stories like in the hood where you got a football player, a basketball player, and everybody protects him, make sure he makes it out and becomes good.
That was our generation. Yes.
Yeah, that's our generation. Mm-hmm. But to see this happening in the early 1900s?
No, this is the early 1800s.
Oh, okay.
This is 1820, something like that.
Wow. I gotta see this.
Yeah, so Washington Black, man, is on Hulu right now. Once you finish listening to this and you turn this podcast off, just go and check it out. I promise you. Grab the family. Matter of fact, I grabbed mine last night, and I think we got through the first 2 episodes. So we still got 6 that we need to go through. So that is Washington Black. So any questions on Washington Black? Anything else you want to know?
Nope.
I'm trying
8 episodes. All right. Sounds like a good binge.
Yeah. All right. So now let's talk about the movie of the hour, The Fantastic Four: The First Steps. Now, if you notice, and I'm going to pull it down so you can see, both Charles and I are wearing our 4 hats. We had an opportunity, as we said earlier in the show, to go down to the Air and Space Museum here in Washington, D.C., where they had the grand opening of their IMAX theater.
The grand reopening.
The grand reopening, excuse me, of their IMAX theater. Thank you, Charles.
Sure.
We're still smaller than the Airbus at Chantilly. I have to keep referencing that because I'm like, yeah, it was nice. It's a nice size theater. Now, I will also add, and as I add this has nothing to do with how I felt about the movies. But I thought it was pretty cool. They gave us some swag. They gave us candy coupons that came with water and popcorn and candy.
Or soda. If you
like
want soda.
whatever you want. Like
Whatever
go in there
you
and help
want to
yourself. I thought that was cool. I was
And
like,
don't forget the popcorn.
yeah. So Shane, they didn't give you a thing. They gave you a closed bag, and they had what, 6 options, 5, 6 options.
Yeah.
Popcorn.
They had cheddar and sour cream.
They gave you options of candy. Just grab any one candy you like.
Yeah.
Grab something to drink. Grab your little hat and get in there and sit down and watch this movie. And this is the 37th movie.
37.
In the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let me set this thing up because I don't want Charles thinking I'm disrespecting the Fantastic Four. Because we have a lot to say about this movie. The 37th movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And the first in the 6th phase.
Phase 6.
Phase 6.
Okay, got you. Thank you. That's a good point. Based on the superhero team, the Fantastic Four, produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Walt Disney. We talked about it being the 37th film in the series and the second reboot of the Fantastic Four film series. The earlier one was 2005, and then they did another reboot in 2015. So it's every 10 years we keep trying to make the Fantastic Four, and we'll talk a little bit about that momentarily. The film is directed by Matt Shakman, who was in the house last night.
Same row I was
sat in the
sitting on.
same row.
Yes.
He sat in our row last night.
Yep.
I walked by him at the end, squeezed his shoulder. I was like, good job, Matty.
Spoiler.
I just said good job. The film features an ensemble cast which includes Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Ebon Moss-Bacharach, and Joseph Quinn as the titular team alongside Julia Gardner, Sarah Niles, Mark Gastis, Natasha Lynn, Paul Walter Hauser.
Natasha Lyonne.
What did I call her?
Lynn.
Thank you. Natasha Lyonne, Paul Walter Hauser, and Ralph Ineson. That's why we have Charles here, because Charles is always about names. All right, so Charles Kirkland Jr., the film focuses on the Fantastic Four who must protect the 1960s inspired retro futuristic world from a planet devouring cosmic being, Galactus. And this is taking place, now this is key, taking place on Earth 828.
Right.
Now that's a good detail.
It's a very good detail because, and I'll explain, because everything that we've seen in the MCU has taken place on
616.
616. I thought it was 626.
Is it 626? I thought it was 616.
Okay. 616. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So everything we've seen is on 616.
I read the comic books, but I remember numbers.
Well, okay. So we're in a different universe than what we're used to, and
so you're saying the first 36 films, which happened for the most part, in the MCU, were all on planet 616.
Universe.
In the universe 616, and now we're in universe 828.
Correct.
To kick off Phase 6.
Correct.
Wow. All right, I just wanted to make sure I set it up for the audience. Go ahead.
And it's perfectly logical why, because if the Fantastic Four were a part of 616, people would be like, where they been? Because we've been going through some stuff here. They're fighting a guy that's going to destroy the world. Why couldn't you help out?
Well, he's trying to destroy the world in 828.
In 828.
Not in 616.
Yeah, but in 616, we did fight a guy that was trying to destroy in the universe.
We got codes. Go ahead, man.
So, that is a really good setup to let us see how this world is totally different, and how the Fantastic Four, who's been, by the time we joined them in this film, they've been a team for 4 years. So they kind of take that Superman approach, as we're not giving you the whole origin story. We just want to drop you in the story and let you roll with it.
Gotcha.
And so I really appreciate that because, again, we've all seen it. we know what's happening, and then they allude to some of the things that have happened to them and how they got to where they are. So we get to see this developed team come together and fight a foe that they've never experienced before. Literally, in this world, the Fantastic Four are the protectors of the Earth. There's no other superhero team that we know of.
This is in the 828.
On 828.
Yeah.
And so they're beloved because they save everybody. They work for everybody. They don't have to face, why are you? Don't you fight for the United States versus Europe? Or
they're fighting the mole man.
Well, that's another story. But even that part, they didn't give you that story. I mean, they didn't give you that battle. They just gave you the story and let you roll with it. So which was very interesting how they presented it. So I mean, am I supposed to give my review of this film or
yes.
what I thought of the film?
We're discussing it, yes.
I think that this film is very successful in everything that they attempt. The story is well put together. The actors are very credible in their roles. The relationships seem genuine by everyone that's in the plot. They even flesh out the characters like the Thing and the Human Torch in a way that we hadn't seen before. In previous films, they're much simpler, but they have depth in this film, which I really appreciated because I'm a big fan of the comic books. And for those of us who are big comic book fans, there are a couple comic book references that happen in the movie that'll keep us excited. But this is a story that is based on the comic books, but is really completely original. So I thought it was very successful. I thought it was done well. Eric Pearson, Jeff Kaplan, Ian Springer, and Cat Wood write this story, and I think they do a good job. I really enjoyed the movie, and I'm going to save my grade for after you give yours.
Thank you, Charles. That was very well done. I wrote, and I thought that the film, which featured a mod 1960s tone, Matt Shackman and his production team really lean into the production design of the film, which I thought really, really worked really, really well. I had shared with Charles, and we had a very heated conversation early this morning, pre-show. Heated. The way I was like, Charles, never mind. But I said that two times we talked earlier in 2005, and then I think in 2007 they did Fantastic Four: The Rise of the Silver Surfer, and then in 2015 they came back and did another reboot.
God awful reboot.
You admit that one?
Oh yeah, I told you.
with Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Human Torch. I just said for the record that Tim Gordon, didn't like either of these versions of the earlier films, right? Either iteration. And as a guy that didn't read the comics, which is why it's fascinating that Charles and I have these conversations around comic book films, I may not have read the comics, but I get to watch the movies that you present, right? So sometimes they're based on comics. I just heard you say that this one is a wholly original story. So, okay, either way, it still works for me because I'm still watching the movie. Now, in my mind, before I even went in to watch the movie, after the first two attempts by Fox to make these stories, I was like, I used to always say, especially when the MCU started, I was like, man, if Marvel ever got their hands on the Fantastic Four, I think they could do a really, really good job with this because Marvel really excels in storytelling, right? Yeah, okay. So that aspect of the film, I was absolutely right. Now, I'll also say that my feelings about the three previous films, the bar was so low, Marvel just had to show up and just give me a story and it would have worked, right? So let's just start there. That I went in, even with my popcorn and my candy and my drink and my Fantastic Four hat, and I was like, man, they just put a story on the screen. This is a win, right? So I'll go in and watch the movie. And I also loved the fact that previously, I just found that these characters were just boring because the first 3 times I'd watched these characters, they really didn't capture the right tone of how to tell the story of the Fantastic Four, right?
Even though you don't know what the story of the Fantastic Four is. It doesn't really matter
because my point is that when you ask me to watch something, I'm looking at execution, cinematography, production design, costume design, screen. I'm listening to the screenplay. I'm looking at how to score. I'm looking at all the elements that make up a project, right? Whether it's streaming, whether it's on the big screen. And Marvel, of course, really does a very good job because there are a lot of comic geeks that work at Marvel. So even when they're telling original stories, there's still enough stuff sprinkled in. Like there's a great scene that happens earlier in the film when I think Sue is going to the United Nations to do an address. And I didn't understand what was happening as they're panning the audience. There's a certain character from a nation
who's absent.
And I was like, everybody's like, woo! So I said, what happened? And they told me, I went, oh, yeah, okay. So that makes sense. So Marvel does a really good job of the details, right? And I thought that the story actually worked. I was told a little bit about the movie by somebody who had watched it earlier this week. And he was actually right that, if you're going in looking for like huge action, this is not really a movie. This is sort of an origin story to build up because later on in the MCU, there are going to be things that we learn in this story that will help us when we get to film 38, 39, 40, etc., right? But I thought overall the chemistry, which you didn't use that word, you was like, they got along. The chemistry between these characters, I thought really worked well. I thought that for all of the bluster of 2 hours of this film, there's literally only like about 8 or 9 speaking parts of different people that are speaking through the whole movie, if you really think about it. It's the Fantastic Four, their press agent, the adversary below.
Right.
There's not a lot of there's not a lot of dialogue, like not a lot of characters. It really centers on these 4 individuals and what they have to do to kind of move it along in 828. Now, here is where we diverge, right? Because going into this, Shane, I thought this is the 4th comic superhero movie of the year, right? And let's just call it what it is. I was not a big fan of Captain America, Brave New World, and I really wasn't a big fan of Thunderbolts, right? I really like Superman. I really thought that what James Gunn did with Superman was amazing, right? Okay. And I see this film by virtue of what I told you about it's an origin story, and we're going to build up these characters later for them to do amazing stuff. For me, I still think Superman is the best comic superhero film of the first half of the year. Now, that's my opinion, right?
You're entitled to your opinion.
And I had to go back in and change my grade on this movie because I had it rated as high as Superman. And I was like, Superman's better. It's just a better movie at this stage. Now, I could be wrong that later on, the Fantastic Four could develop like maybe in part 2, maybe part 3, when there's some more adversaries and some more action. Maybe we got a different story. This story's good. I'm not saying it's bad. It's easily the best of the Fantastic Four iterations that has been out there. Marvel did their thing with this. The cast is superb. I thought, the whole 60s aesthetic works really, really well. It's a well-done movie. So, having said that, I gave it a B.
A straight B?
Straight B. I had it at a B+, but then I had Superman at a B+, and it's not Superman. I gave the Fantastic Four B. Now, I know there are hardcore comic fans who are like, Tim, you don't know what you're talking about. You tripping. All I can watch, Charles, is what you give me, right? So, there's no more to it. No less. I'm not hating. Watch this. I'm glad to see that the Fantastic Four is finally brought into the MCU and is actually treated with some love. It looks good. It plays well. It's got a short run time. There's a lot of positives it's just not a lot there other than the origin setup for me. Now, I'm looking forward to what they can do with this, and I'm positive that knowing Marvel with, this 2-part Avengers they got coming up, is it Secret Wars, and then it's
Doomsday first. And
Doomsday, and then what?
Secret Wars.
Okay, there you go. So I gave it a B. So what did you give it?
I wanted to give it an A-, but I stayed with the B+. And I look back and I say it's the same grade as Superman. But unlike you, I think that this film is superior in theme and tone than to Superman, because there were some things about Superman that just didn't line up. For instance, they really were mad with Superman because he was an alien coming to this planet, but they didn't have a problem with Hawk Girl, and she's an alien come to the planet, and she's in part of the Justice Gang. Why was she getting into that kind of hate? So there were some things that I felt like that happened in Superman. Superman's a great film, but I think as the time goes by, that some of the themes that were relevant and important that Superman expressed will have dissuaded. And the themes that are in the Fantastic Four about family and hope and building the community, those things are going to last. And I think that over time that this movie will be last a lot better. It'll communicate. You know how you say sometimes a movie doesn't age well. Mm-hmm. I think that the Fantastic Four will age a lot better in its story, because it is more of a universal theme that people will be able to relate to, not just now but in the future.
All right. See, this is why we should have fights early in the day, because it's calm in here now. See, Shane, this was not the conversation we had earlier. Charles called me a movie snob, and
I did.
He called me all kind of stuff, and I was like, but bro, we doing the same thing, man. You act like you a plumber who reviews movies. You're a film critic just like I am. And Charles hit me with, at the church, right? You have 2 pastors, and then one is delivering the sound. It's like, okay, touche. You had to bring God into it to get me up off you, but it's all right. It's all right.
That's what he's there for. He's my protector. He's my strong tower.
Wow.
My refuge.
Wow. And what am I supposed to say to that? You're wrong. All right. So the 2 films. Let's go over this one more time. So the 2 films we talked about, or the 2 projects, I just say that we talked about this weekend. I gave an A to Washington Black. I thought Washington Black was really, really.
Let me ask you this question.
Yes.
Is this a TV A, or is this a film A, or is there a difference?
There's no difference, man. I mean,
so
I think
Washington Black is better than Superman.
And the Fantastic Four. to me.
Okay, I'm just
let me rephrase that. Okay, that's a good question. That's a good question, because I think about it. These projects are all different, man. So when there's documentaries, like I gave Luther an A. So you're like, Luther's better than Superman? If Superman was a documentary, yes. But no, I think Washington Black, sometimes, and I'm just gonna be transparent. Sometimes you're giving grades to movies, man, because they exceed what you think they are, right? And I think not to say that Fantastic Four exceeded what I thought it was, but the first 3 were so not my cup of tea, and this one actually works. I could actually watch this again. Yeah. I could actually watch the Fantastic Four, the first steps again.
You could watch the first one again, but yeah.
No. All right, man. So as we get ready to get out of here now, because Shane has got us on the strict 58 count. As we tell you every week, man, please see something good at the movies. We gave you a couple of options. And always remember to keep it real, keep it strong. I messed that up. Yeah, we'll see you next week. You take care. Charles was waiting. I messed it up, man. Next week, we'll see you guys.